Hello, I'm Michael Lakin. Today we're going to paint the Snowdrop, and I've already got the drawing prepared in front of me, ready for the first wash of water. So I'm just going over that now, very neatly again, with a number 2 round brush, nice and accurate. As I said before, if you go over the lines, the paint will follow it, and that will give you a wavy edge. So just nice and neat there, all over. There's no need to glaze the roots because they're so fine, we can just paint those in afterwards. That comes into detail and we'll do those later. So there we go, we'll just let that dry now, ready for painting. Okay, now we've glazed the image with clear water and let it dry. We're going to start with the first thin wash with a mixture of manganese blue and Windsor green yellow shade for these galanthus leaves on the underside, the back side. The fronts of the leaves are a different colour, so we'll mix this colour up, this turquoise colour. Okay, and then we need this paint very, very thin. First wash, don't go in too thick. Using a number 2 brush. We need this leaf to be convexed because it's the back of the leaf. On the other side of the leaf it's concave, so we must show that. So I'm working on the outside of the leaf so that we can start the process of getting the form straight away. Remember, the light's coming from top left, really neat into the corners. Wash your brush, one twist and grade. Okay, just grade that in up to the midrib. Midrib is the centre part of leaves, so we'll just grade that in, and then we can work from the other side. In the same method, water again, just soften that edge there, go right into the corner. We'll work on the one which is not attached to the one that we've just painted so that they don't run into each other. So remember, when you get a twisted leaf, just make sure you know which is the underside and which is the top side. This is the underside. And note that the vein, the centre midrib vein, is much wider on the underside of the leaf than it is on the top of the leaf. So that is why it's drawn slightly wider. And so we can paint either side of it with the thin wash and leave it just white virgin paper there. You can just see that, and you can see it there as well. So we'll work now on the other back of the leaf, starting from the midrib and working out on this one. Really do grade. We're working to this section here, which goes into a square section. Believe it or not, but a lot of flowers that go into the stems start off as a round stem, which this one does. This has got a round stem, but the base is where the leaves are housed is square section. So that's something you must observe and show in your painting as well. So we can work on this outside again here. Again, very neatly up to the line, on with the water straight away, and just blend it in there. That's the outside of the leaves completed. We need a different mix for the top side or front of the leaf, the stem, the calyx and the sepal. So we use some of that original mix and we'll add some sap green to that to make it a little bit more yellow than what it is. So I need some sap green into that. There we go. Just a little bit more. Then just thin it slightly. Of course, as I say, it's the first wash, so don't get it too thick. And we'll just work this top side of the leaf. Now that's got a dip in the middle. As I've said, this is convexed, so this is concave. And with the light coming from top left, you will start at the midrib and work left, go dark to the left. So that's down that midrib and then grade it out to the left so that we start to get the form straight away. And I can work from the other side of the leaf and then grade it into the white here, so that we do leave that area of white there. It's small, but it matters, and you can see that that's already starting to make a dip. Now we can work on with the same colour, we can work on the stem. Again, the dark side is the right hand side, so we'll start and go down there. I've found that it's easier to go about halfway on a small piece and then just grade it across, because this has got to have form. So just bring that down, really accurate on the line. It's a very fine stem, so keep it very, very neat, like that. So now we can do the sepal at the top, which housed the flower. There's a little gap in the middle of that, so don't paint it as one. Make sure that these are painted separately, and then they blend into the stem. A little bit more. Remember, this is the first wash, so it's very, very fine. Keep really neat to those edges. Just grade that over. There, like that. We can also do the little stem there, and we can do this calyx here. Now the calyx is a round section, so it needs a highlight at top left. I'm going to do that first. So a bit of paint at the bottom corner, because that's the darkest corner, and then just grade that up, just leaving that highlight there. I also need a little bit of paint just around that top edge to form the highlight. Then we'll do the stem, same colour. That just feeds in there underneath first, because that's in shadow more than the top. No matter how small the component, it's still got form, so we're going to leave that there just with that light area on. The next part to do is the outer skin of the bulb. So for that we need a mixture of raw umber with a little bit of neutral tint. There we go, very dark colour, dark brown, rich colour. Again, thin it, really thin. Again, I'm going to start on the bottom right hand side. This is the darkest area, and we'll start with small wash, really accurate on this side of the bulb, and grade it. You're very tempted to paint that just solid as it is, but don't. Just grade it in. It's going to be much darker than this, but not at this stage. At the next stage it will be much darker. And we can do the other side, working from the left hand side. You could leave it and go and do this later when everything else is dried, but it makes sense to carry on as long as you're aware that this side will be lighter. And at this stage, this is why we use very thin washes, is that you're in control. I know this has got to go darker, and I know that side's got to go darker, but I'm just creating the form with these first thin washes. And this is just the skin of the bulb. This part of the bulb is left white for now. We will shadow it with grey, but at the moment we'll leave it completely white and just paint the skin. Because it's a small area, we know it's got to go darker. This side has almost dried, so I could go a little bit darker at this stage, just so that I improve the form, which I'm going to do. At this stage I want to leave it with form showing, not a flat bulb. So I'm just going in again, just a little bit darker, just grading this across. So the lesson to be learned is that no matter how small the portrait is, every component must have shape to look lifelike. Just going to get a little bit more form on the calyx, because sometimes at the first wash you cannot quite get that, so I'm just going a little bit darker underneath. Just to show that before I finish this stage. We're leaving the petals because they're very delicate. It's a white flower, so they are shadowed with grey. So I'm leaving that because that comes into play with detail. So this stage is now completed.